The National Wildlife Research Center has its headquarters in Fort Collins, Colorado. We're co-located with Colorado State University on a 43-acre campus on the foothills on the west side of Fort Collins. We have 8 other field stations across the United States.
The National Wildlife Research Center is part of the United States Department of Agriculture Animal Plant Health Inspection Service.
Our mission is to reduce wildlife conflicts or disease or damage management issues to protect human agriculture, public health, and natural resources in the United States.
As wildlife populations fluctuate, they can cause damage to crops and other commodities and can sometimes pose a human health risk as well.
We do an excellent job of trying to approach the problem from all possible angles and develop some creative and cutting-edge solutions, particularly non-lethal solutions to wildlife damage and disease problems.
The non-lethal aspects of the research here at the National Wildlife Research Center focuses on reproductive control, developing repellents, and other methods that we can alter the behavior of the animals on the landscape.
The National Wildlife Research Center is unique in the diverse expertise that we have present.
We have immunologists, physiologists, economists, chemists, and of course wildlife biologists. We're not your typical wildlife research center.
All of these groups work together to develop products and methods to either assess damage or to try to manage that disease or damage from wildlife.
It makes us really unique in the world in terms of being a premier wildlife research center.
The National Wildlife Research Center has a unique capacity throughout the world. We can hold any animal here.
The goal is to have a variety of facilities to have reptiles, amphibians, fish, birds, raccoons, skunks, coyotes.
I think that this building is a great example of sort of the state-of-the-art facilities that we have, in the sense that we have a hardwired camera video system being able in real time to capture all of the activity of the animal when we put a novel lure or attractant into the pen, or we put some novel different sizes and shapes of baits to really capture the full interaction with those products. Helps us to develop and optimize those products further.
Every day we come out and we put our eye on every animal. We provide quality care for animals and therefore quality animals to the researchers. And the idea is to provide a consistent experience that meets our Animal Welfare Act requirements and provides humane treatment.
The areas of research that the National Wildlife Research covers are invasive species, wildlife disease, agricultural natural resource protection, and product development.
Invasive species on islands have large impacts on native birds which nest on the ground.
We do a lot of work with endangered species protection from invasive predators.
We've been working in the field of what's called environmental DNA, or eDNA. And this is DNA that's shed into the environment from an organism. And a lot of animals are difficult to catch. They might be difficult to see, and particularly with invasive species, you want to be able to detect them when they're at low numbers, because you have the best chance of being able to control them. We've had really good success with this, developing eDNA assay for Burmese python and feral swine, which is a large invasive species across the U.S.
The National Wildlife Research Center is an interdisciplinary group of scientists who are focused on solving problems and providing solutions. We do that in lots of different ways. The chemistry group in particular is interested in chemical compounds that would be used to either repel animals, attract animals, contracept animals.
We do research here on the development of novel vaccines, novel baits to deliver those vaccines to wildlife, and novel baiting strategies for how we distribute the baits on the landscape to encourage uptake by our target populations.
We have really unique product development capabilities here. We also have the ability to take products and register them through regulatory agencies.
We provide them with analytical data. That data has to be accurate, reliable, repeatable, defensible.
In the United States, Rabies circulates naturally in several different carnivore species. Those species are raccoons and skunks, coyotes and gray foxes, and also mongoose in Puerto Rico. The rabies program and the vaccination of wildlife serves to prevent or control the spread of rabies. It also reduces human exposures and protects people's pets and natural areas. And the goal moving forward is to eliminate rabies from raccoon populations in the eastern U.S., which will go a long way in again, preventing those exposures and preventing the burden of cases in pets and other wildlife.
Another aspect of disease research that we work on is using DNA to understand vectors of pathogens. So we work on these little bitty bugs called biting midges, and they transmit really important diseases that affect livestock and wildlife. But nobody understands much about the vectors and how they move across the landscape or how closely related they are, because they're really hard to study because they're super tiny.
Conflict between humans and wildlife can take on lots of different areas. Wildlife's getting in the way of aircraft that take off and landing. It could be crop depredations. It could be predation on livestock.
We work a lot using DNA for forensics. We apply it to wildlife and livestock and try and identify the predators. We can identify puma or wolves or bears from carcasses using swabs.
The National Wildlife Research Center's goal is to enable the technologies for use by the agricultural interests, private citizen wildlife managers.
We partner with universities, private institutions, other government agencies, the CDC, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We work a lot with state agencies. We have a diversity of partners.
We couldn't do these field efforts without the collaboration of the operational program. So it's been critically important, but it's also a unique way in which we can sort of field test the things that we're developing here at the center.
We have a variety of patents and licenses that we've translated to the private sector.
The research center itself will devise research protocols and studies to test different hypotheses for how we might find a solution. If they come up with a solution, we will try to find industry partners to take those products or those management techniques, and if there's any market potential, we will help them try to develop a business off that particular tool.
One of my visions for the center is for us to not only be a competent and well-respected management organization, but one also that has impact in changing the landscape about human-wildlife conflicts so that wildlife is not devalued and that we can actually coexist with them in a very positive manner.
Seeing that process of the research and development and then moving into the registration and the actual operational use is very rewarding to see come to fruition.
It's an intense satisfaction. I would equate it to maybe, a sports star, somebody scoring a touchdown. It's kind of that way for us as a scientist. Making that breakthrough and seeing the impact of it especially is really rewarding.
At the end of the day, I think it's really important and vital that we make a difference. That's really our goal.